welcome to this edition of the GOP Rebuttal. I'm Sean Nabby reporting here from the law offices of Webster and Webster. We'll be sitting down with Representative Webster and talking to him about the sales tax. Well, about a week and a half ago, the sales tax went into effect. And we were wondering, what do you think? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Seeing that we sort of need to balance the budget, we're at a sort of a loss for money at this point.
Sean, it couldn't be the worst thing to do right now for the hardworking people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. One of the things that I've said for a long, long time now, and many members of the Republican Party in Massachusetts have said, is that the worst thing we can do in a recession is to increase taxes of any kind, let alone the sales tax. It stunts economic growth, and what we need to be doing right now to bring the state and our economy out of this recession is to be putting people back to work. We need to encourage job growth, and by passing tax increases, we stunt job growth. We send the wrong message to the businesses that are working here and surviving or trying to survive here in the Commonwealth by raising taxes, because it cuts down on business. They won't have as many patrons coming into their establishments, and if they're not having as many people come into their establishments, they're laying people off. And if we're laying people off, then we don't have people on the payroll who are actually paying taxes to the Commonwealth to help fund many of the valuable services that we provide for our citizens.
Yeah, and overall, you're talking about it's hurting small businesses. We have things like New Hampshire throwing a Big and Rich concert where they're enticing 900 small businesses and local businesses to come up and get, quote, big and rich in New Hampshire. Is this going to create a border war in a sense with our neighbors basically happy and excited that we're increasing taxes here?
I think we've already gone down that path, and again, it goes back to what I said a minute ago about encouraging economic growth and development here in the Commonwealth. And the way we do that is by trying to grow jobs, not trying to send messages to the businesses that are here in the Commonwealth that you'd be better off to go across the border, either in New Hampshire or Rhode Island, and do business there, because the taxes up in those two states are less than they are here in Massachusetts.
And overall, this isn't the only tax. Wasn't there a list of other taxes that were involved in this that are going to be affecting our, us citizens here in Massachusetts?
Within the last 2 years, Sean, we have passed significant tax increases in Massachusetts. Last year, we passed the cigarette tax increase, giving communities the option to levy what they call a local option tax on restaurants and hotels. We've increased the alcohol tax. We've increased the fees at the Registry of Motor Vehicles. I think if you took a look at the overall increases in taxes during the last 2 fiscal years, we are now expecting the citizens of the Commonwealth to fork over more than $1.3 billion in increased fees and taxes than we were 2 years ago. And Sean, this is all while our budget, our state budget, has been increasing by $1 billion a year between the years of 2004 and 2008. We don't have a revenue problem here in Massachusetts. We've got a spending problem, and the people in the legislature, those that the citizens of this state elect, have got to realize that we can't continue spending at the rate that we're spending. And this type of growth in the budget each year is unsustainable. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that our economy is cyclical. And if you look at the way we generate most of our revenue here in Massachusetts over the last few years, we've done it through employment taxes, corporate taxes, and capital gains taxes. When the economy isn't doing well, when the stock market isn't doing well, we see a dip in those tax receipts. So we have to keep that in mind as we pass our budgets from year to year to year. And we have to recognize that if we continue to increase spending at the rate that we're increasing it, at some point in time, the economy will turn as it has right now, and we're going to have to make adjustments in order to be able to afford to afford the spending in the Commonwealth. Listen, when working families experience a job loss in their home, they have to make adjustments to their personal household incomes. We need to do the same thing here in Massachusetts. we're not bringing in the types of tax revenues that we brought in a few years ago. In fact, I just took a look at the revenue estimates that came out at the beginning of this month for July. Once again, tax revenues are continuing to fall. They're falling below the benchmark projections that were made before the beginning of the fiscal year. And what does that mean? That means that we've got to make some serious adjustments in the way that we're spending money. Between the fiscal '09 budget and the fiscal '10 budget that was just approved, we only dropped spending by about $600 million, when the actual shortfall between the two fiscal years is in excess of $2 billion. We've made up that shortfall by tapping into the rainy day fund and spending all the reserves that we've worked so hard over the last 4 or 5 years to build up. And we're at the point now where we've got less than $700 million in our reserve account. What are we going to do next year when we've got a further decrease in tax revenues, yet we've run out of all our economic stimulus money and we don't have any more reserves to pay for the services that we continue to fund? The cuts at that point in time are going to be a lot less than they would have been if we were making cuts as we saw our budget projections, or we recognized that our budget projections were too high and we saw that our tax increases were falling off.